on time, okay. We'll call this work session to order. Please silence your electronic devices. We have all of council.
Mayor
Roll call,
Hartless,
I'm sorry. Here.
Vice Mayor Waddell, absent. Councilmember Shantz,
Here.
Councilmember Daniels,
Present.
Councilmember De Leon, absent. Councilmember Greenwald,
Here.
Councilmember Jing.
Present.
Okay, our purpose today is to discuss the continuation of discussion about the security measures for the Parker Public Library, including the ballistic circulation desk. So, Nora, you want to kick this off?
I can start. We do have staff here from the library with some incident reports and some other things that she would like to present to you. I also know that several of you folks on council have some things that you would like to present as well. I guess we can just start with Ms. Phoenix, if you'd like. I know Chief has got some things that, as well. I think she has provided each and every one of you with a small report, and then also Finance has provided you with a employee cost, annual cost, should you want to look at hiring somebody for a security officer over there as well.
Wait, what? That,
A security officer, that was brought up last at the meeting, that a lot of the libraries have security officers in their libraries versus some of the desks and some of the other things. So we wanted to make sure you had all those numbers as well.
Ms. Phoenix.
Hey guys. So I gave you a list of incidences that my staff could remember. I just asked them all to sit down, look back at anything that had made them feel unsafe or made them feel like a patron was unsafe, or just uncomfortable in general. One thing that did not make that report, which I didn't realize until probably about 15 minutes before I was supposed to be over here, were all of the incidences that happened after the Drag Queen Story Hour events, where we were getting phone calls, being attacked online, people coming in and berating us, people threatening to stand outside the library with guns, all of that. So unfortunately, one of our biggest issues did not make it on paper, but I wanted to make a note of that. I found a couple articles online talking about political attacks against civil workers, and also the rise in violence against library workers. So there are two different articles there if you want to look over them. A lot of the studies are geared toward urban libraries, but I think that the biggest takeaway from those is that there is violence being done against library workers, and just because those are done in urban areas doesn't mean that it would not happen in a rural area. Everybody always thinks violence doesn't happen where they are until it does happen. So I think our whole thought with this is just to be proactive instead of retroactive. Looking at a couple different peer-reviewed surveys, one of them from 2024 said that 89.3% of public librarians reported experiencing at least one form of harassment, sexual harassment, or aggression or aggressive behavior in the past 5 years. The Trauma in the Library Project found that verbal abuse and physical assault were the most frequently reported traumatic incidences for library staff, alongside theft, sexual assault, and even violent death. The American Library Association and Public Library Association report increasing numbers of threats, including bomb and shooting threats against library workers nationwide. San Antonio Public Library recorded, which again is a bigger city, but reported 19 assaults and incidences in 2023 at just one location, which led to the pilot program with armed officers in their library. Pima County Library, I believe, pays or budgets $650,000 a year for guards for their libraries. And I think it's important to remember that library workers are frontline public servants, yet are increasingly facing harassment, threats, and physical danger. It's also important to note that our career is very sexualized, and remembering that whenever dealing with patrons or people who we come in contact with daily is something that we have to think about. Rising violence not only threatens staff safety, but it also disrupts community services and deters patrons from using our public spaces. These incidences mirror national trends in rising hostility towards civic institutions and require proactive responses at a local level. One thing that we've started doing recently is I have my staff doing de-escalation trainings, so that way if they do come into contact with anybody who comes in heated, they are aware of different strategies to try and calm that person down. We do have panic buttons at every station, which I believe we are going to start wearing more often. And then I've created a incident report form that I've instructed my staff to start keeping better notes of incidences within the library, so that way, whenever it comes down to making policy changes, making changes within the library at all, we do have data to look back on, because that's not something that was utilized in the past. So that's something that we have started doing now. I've instructed them to do an incident report for anything that they would go home and tell their family about and be like, hey, guess what happened today? You'll never guess what so-and-so said to me. Just so that we have a track record for patrons that are coming through our doors and incidences that are happening within our facility. Just another reminder that libraries are meant to be a safe and welcoming space. And while you may think that a glass panel in between the patrons and our staff would deter from that, if you walk into our library, you see our smiling faces as soon as you walk through the door. Mind you, it takes me 7 steps to get from our front door face-to-face to being face-to-face with one of our staff. So one of the things that we were looking at doing with this desk is to make it smaller and pull it back, which would create another obstacle or a greater distance between the door and the desk. So, and looking at other libraries, that's not something that they have. For example, is it the Quartzsite Library, where you have to go in through Town Hall, go through the doors, past multiple
Yes.
desks before you can get to their library. So there are multiple places where if an issue were arising, you would be able to see it coming, or other people would be able to see it coming, versus looking up from the desk and seeing somebody in your face. Data shows that a troubling increase in violence against library workers and from harassment and threats to physical assaults is rising. And that's data that you can find. Google it, it's there. Immediate investment in safety measures and staff support is critical to protecting both our employees and the communities that we serve. So if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them.
So the security guard thing is not something I considered at all.
Yeah.
I really don't think I would, but because I think I asked you last time, how do you feel about this whole glass thing?
The more I look at it, and especially looking at the news and seeing mass shootings every day, just in September alone, I believe our country had, I think, 25, 26 mass shootings, and that is going based off of the gun violence archives. So they track it as any shooting that happens where 4 or more people are shot. Doesn't mean killed or anything. And then, I look at it as a way to not only protect my staff, but from gun violence, but from anything, from being spit on, from being slapped, from being yelled at. With that desk, it's similar to the front desk, where if we flip a switch, we're no longer being berated. We can step away, call before it gets escalated. In addition to that, I think that barrier would help my staff to maintain a calm composure, knowing that they are safe without having to trigger their flight or flight.
Gotcha. Okay.
You mentioned talking about mass shootings and shootings. Is this going to be bulletproof glass?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's the whole purpose of the glass.
Ballistic. they call it.
Ballistic,
Yes,
yeah.
ballistic.
So let's go back to the whole thing at hand here is we applied for a grant several months ago for this, from the state library. We just really need to keep that in mind, that the state library thought it was important enough to grant us a portion of that, a big portion of the payment to that. We also have had to return money to the state library, and that's not a really great look on us either. Just as we're going through all of these different scenarios, we just really need to keep in mind that this is a grant.
Well, we would have to send the money back if we don't use it on this.
If we don't use it on
Yeah, the grant was written specifically for this desk, or
Right.
for this type of desk, this type of
type of
security.
desk, it doesn't. Steve came up with 3 good alternatives. However, I mean, we could look to see if there's something that's a little bit different, but it is definitely, that grant is definitely for a security desk.
Can we see what the grant was, how it was written? The written,
I don't have that. I only have the construction agreement.
By John Luther or?
Yeah, it was written by John Luther. So it was in a previous packet that you guys approved, and it had all of those details in it whenever it was approved. It had it had a rough draft of what the desk would look like in it as well. So I know it's something that's been brought before you guys before.
so the written agreement.
Yeah.
That.
I was looking to see.
How many other libraries in Arizona have this ballistic glass?
I'm not positive. And honestly, if you look at it in that way, again, not every library is set up like ours is. And just because other libraries aren't implementing those measures doesn't mean that there's not a need for it, and doesn't mean that down the line, those measures will start to be implemented. What I'm seeing, or what I see, and what I understand is that they have, most circulation desks aren't in the front of the library. You walk into the library, there's a whole entrance. Walk into the Lake Havasu Library, it's off to the side. It's not, you're not face to face with somebody right away. So I think that comparing other libraries and bigger libraries to our small library, where as soon as you walk in, you are face to face, eye contact with somebody, it's apples to oranges.
The basis of the question wasn't necessarily to compare with
Yeah.
that. It's so that we can say, go over there and compare and actually see how the discussion is from one point to another, not necessarily that other portion with that.
Yeah,
So it's more so that we can get real life example of being able to see how that actual interaction is if visiting a different facility.
yeah. So I would look at, so are you worried about like the personal relation of that, or?
Yeah, so even, I know at the hospital, we have a handful of various points where we do have that glass in between, and definitely does take away the personability
Yeah.
between the front registrar and the individual that they're checking in or having contact with at that particular point. Ballistic glass is going to add that much more difficulty of layer for that communication, because that much thicker of distinction between the couple points with that. So with looking at my experience in the past, what I know, just wondering where other areas inside Arizona have that, so we can physically go there and actually see how a successful model of what we're describing for and what we're going to spend up to $50,000+ for is, and make sure that we actually have that full firsthand knowledge of a successful program going ahead, so that we can see it firsthand, instead of thinking that this is a great idea, especially during the time that we know of how constrained we are on funding.
So,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I will tell you that I called over 15 libraries from Arizona all the way to Washington, and not one of them said that they had this kind of desk there. So I would ask, like, are you guys a bigger library? You guys are little? I mean, I called like a random place in Washington, and then I called actually like Washington, D.C. to see. Not one of them had it. A lot of the libraries do, of course, prioritize safety and have different sets of security cameras, security staff, things of that sort to keep their staff secure and safe, but not one had this kind of desk.
I would venture to say, because she's right about the layout, that when you walk in, it's right there. And I would venture to say maybe none of those have that sort of a thing.
Consider potentially changing the library layout?
You want to knock down some walls?
No, but potentially if we're adding a
I was like,
larger
because I'm
desk,
down for that.
potentially adding a larger desk, is there a better layout that we can consider instead of just trying to have questionable investments when there might be other worthwhile solutions? You know, if that's the basis of the problem, is trying to look at what's the basis of the problem? If that's the basis of the problem of where we're unique with that, is there better solutions for what we want to accomplish, looking at the basis of the problem?
So I will go back to the incident reports. All of these are very serious, and I don't want it to be like she wasn't looking at these or she wasn't reading these at all, because they're all very serious. Unfortunately, I feel like if there's 25 on here, only 19 of them, this desk would help you. These are incidents that could happen at any office, any store, any walking into any department store, convenience store, any office really. I really dug deep into the different libraries. I mean, I was asking people, I went to the Lake Havasu Library to see, you know, what is the difference? I've called people in courtside. I called one of my really, really good friends, like even asked about their hours and how come they're closed on Fridays, because I know we're closed on Fridays. I really dug deep into this, and there wasn't anything that I could find. There was no strong evidence at all of the libraries adopting this at all. I will say that.
Well, somebody's got to have it because the state library board saw fit to,
Or saw a need for it.
yeah.
I would love to know which library does have it.
Yeah, and that'd be a great question, like I said, so that we can have that firsthand discussion. And it doesn't necessarily mean that another library does have it. It might mean that, hey, they're willing to spend $50,000+ on this. They're going to be a great guinea pig to test this out with. Let's go forward as their guinea pig to see if it is worthwhile. Not saying that it's not worthwhile or that it's nothing with that. It's just, are we the first? You know, and it would be nice to know if we are the first for that to be pioneers in that direction. Or if there are other ones, it'd be great to have that discussion with the other ones so that we can have that firsthand knowledge and communication.
The state library really does love our little library. They support our little library a lot throughout the many years.
And I
So-
love our library too. And
Yeah,
I
no.
feel like Phoenix and her entire staff are absolutely amazing. I would
So
never,
it may be that this is kind of their way of getting this out into the communities. We just don't know. It's a good question that we could call to find out.
So I wouldn't know how to go about asking every single library in the country if they have one of these. So I don't know how to get that answer for
Yeah,
you.
But I
think
think.
I would have
Where-
to spend days.
Well, there might be I mean, we're going with this one particular company because
Yeah.
they're the only manufacturer that we have found that does this for the type of model. So that might be my first step. The other step would be calling up the state library that awarded us the grant. So if we are one of many that they're trying to change that model, they would be the first ones to know. So it's not necessarily calling up every library, but it's calling up those larger resources, which we've already searched to try to find, okay, what other resources do this? And if they're the only manufacturer who's doing this inside Arizona, it should be this company who is going that wide in Arizona doing these type of jobs.
So going back to the issue of spending the $50,000 on it. So a lot of times if you return money to grants, they won't look at you anymore for new grants. So in returning that money, we would be cutting off the library from future grants.
I don't think that we should necessarily return the money at all, and I think that's why previously I'd asked how long we have. I would love to dive deeper, and I know that you said this grant did come before us. Unfortunately, I can't recall exactly what it said word for word that long ago. I would love to look at that grant again and see what else we could do besides this desk. If there's any alternatives, I know that we need a desk. I know that we need one that, and we need security, and we need the one that's ADA compliant, but maybe not this one.
So we applied for the grant with this desk. So that's what we got awarded for. So that's what we have to use it for.
Unless we talk to them.
And I know I've done that with particular grants before, is go back and go for a different change proposal with grants.
Right, I've
So I-
modified many grants before.
I guess what I'm hearing is that the personability of it is more important than our safety, and that's disheartening.
I'm sorry.
Because,
Okay.
no, let me finish.
Yeah.
So what other security measures could we have? We could pay hundreds of $1,000s a year for a security guard. We could rearrange the whole library, which would not work. I'll tell you that already. We've already tried rearranging rooms. It won't work. We have built-in shelves. It would cost more than what the desk would cost. And putting metal detectors or gun detectors in the entryway wouldn't do anything. By the time they go off, they're already in your face. So I don't know what other options you guys would have for us.
Well, in the rearrangement, it may cost more, but if that's the basis of the problem with that, that might also solve that and solve the personability portion with that. So if that is the various other portions of how other institutions have done that, so with us not looking, I guess, at those very options or looking at the cost or looking at any of those, so it's not saying that it's not, but right now, I think the solution proposed is one that no other place that we found right now has done it. And so more my question with that is trying to figure out why not, and if there is, trying to see the success rates of those other particular areas that have done it.
And I will just apologize for making you feel any kind of way. I think that I've said several times, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that I believe that our staff should be safe and should feel secure. I think that I've said that several times. So I don't mean at all to make you feel that way or as if I don't care if our staff is safe. I absolutely 100% do. And I absolutely 100% think that we should be ADA compliant. I just don't think that this is the way.
And Phoenix, you know I support this, and this has also been the topic of your library board, because they have big concerns, and they have for a number of years about the whole setup of the library. So I understand, you know, we have grant money, we need to use it, we applied for it this way. I don't know if there's a time limit on when this project has to be done. When is that? Is it December?
So we have to expend matching funds of at least 50% by June 30th. And it has to be completely spent and all reporting done with photographs by the 31st of July.
2026.
Of 2026? Okay, okay. All right, so we have a little bit of time. Thank you.
And then going back to what you said, Erica, about how most of the incidences would be happening outside of the desk. Another perk of it would have been there's a place to retreat to where you can find a safe place. So it's just giving my staff the opportunity to have a safe place. Are they always going to be in that box? Absolutely not. You go into the library and 50% of the time, half of our staff is outside of it. We're shelving, we're in programming. So I don't think that we would lose personability at all. I think that my staff goes above and beyond to make everybody who walks through those doors, make them feel welcome. We've been told countless times by our teens that visit the library that we are one of the only safe places that they have in our community. And I think that protecting the staff that make this place what it is the most important thing.
And I 100% agree with those students and those teens that, to me, that's what the library is. It is a safe place. That's where a lot of the teens go, kids go to feel safe, to find themselves in a book, right? Rather than in trouble or doing something they shouldn't be doing. Go lose yourself in a book, right? So I 100% agree with that. And that's why I'm so big on the personability. I really want, if me and my kids go in there, I don't want them to just see a glass, huge ballistic. I feel like that would just scare them more than anything at first. I really like and you're right, you guys are not behind the desk most of the time. I don't think I've ever walked in the library once and you guys are just sitting behind the desk, to be honest. I don't think there's one time. But again, I'm sitting here reading through the incident reports and it's like, okay, we have one incident where this and this happened. So in that incident, you would go get that person and bring them behind the desk with you? Because then at that point, neither of you are safe because you're outside of it and so are they. So I think there's a lot of training that needs to go into it. And that's why I say your guys' safety is my number one concern. I think that even if this desk does get approved, there still needs to be some training and safety that needs to go behind it for all the employees, not just for the library, but for the town in general, right? Because this can happen at the community center. This has happened here with the glass.
In just talking about the retreat, I think one item that I discussed last time is also having, say, that door that's leading into the back room of placing a door over there as a different retreat area as well. Could be a potential option.
I think that the issue with that one is whenever you think of, again, going back to the layout, for not just retreat purposes, but just safety. So if somebody is behind the desk and somebody walks in and they have a chainsaw, not even a gun, then they are protected in that seat. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's so, so scary looking or unattractive or impersonable. You know, I think of the ones at the hospital. And it's a little bit different because at the hospital, when you go, you're talking about the one in the emergency room right there, when you
That's
first
one
walk
of
in.
couple, correct.
When you walk in there, they never, I don't think they ever would come out of there and go, hi. They're always in there. So it's not comparable in that sense because you're right, you guys are never back there. But it is a retreat if you had to get back there. Not just you guys, but little kids and stuff too. But that would be assuming you had some sort of ballistic door back there also, so you would be protected. I mean, part of me thinks this might look pretty cool, you know, I don't know. I like the fact that it was lower and then there was glass, because I think the one you have right now is more like this.
It's high,
When
yeah.
somebody's sitting there, they're like this. So it is too high. Maybe that offers a little more protection with that height. But, yeah, my big concern was really how you guys felt about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I got a clear vision last time we talked. And I see it now, so.
Does your whole, all of your staff feel this way? Because I know the last time I spoke with you, they weren't really for it.
They understand why I want it, and they respect my decision and will do what we need to do to be safe. It doesn't necessarily that they like the idea of being behind glass, but again, how often are they actually behind it? And it wouldn't deter from their normal day-to-day things. All it would do is they have to flip the switch if they choose to turn it off whenever, or go out of a door.
That was the other thing I was gonna ask you, because looking at that picture, there was some indented areas. Is that like a speaker? Or those actual panel you could move aside and,
I believe, like for books and stuff, it would be one of the big it's a drawer.
the drawer?
Yeah.
It looked like, almost like a window indented area, and I thought maybe that would slide open or, it is one solid unit, basically.
Yes.
There were three different, I don't know, if you.
There's 3 different pictures in the packet that we got the last, yeah.
So each one of them was a little bit different. Some of them higher, some of them lower.
We've actually got a quote from a company to construct one of those specifically.
And Steve's done a really good job of listening to the needs that my staff have for the circulation desk to adjust what would be done. So it wouldn't be like a little slot that you have to single file move your books through or anything like that. Like, there would be a spot it's low enough for wheelchair access, and with the desk being moved back, we would have more space for wheelchairs to be able to navigate in that area, which we don't really have right now.
So is that part of this plan that the desk will be moved back, or that was the suggestion that you were
No,
saying?
that's part of the plan. It would be
is?
smaller,
It's-
excuse me, smaller.
Yeah, it'd be and the circulation and the ADA compliant.
So it makes it a little roomier in that lobby too.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, it may not matter, but there's funding for the floor.
Yeah.
That's tied to this desk, because you can't do the floor until you do the desk. right?
Correct.
And that money's already there.
And our floors are currently crooked and have lots
Oh,
of
they're
bumps
bad.
in them.
Yeah, I looked
They're
at
trip
them.
hazards.
They were bad.
So,
Well, yeah, there's no action on this
No,
agenda, we're just having a
Nope,
discussion.
just a
so-
discussion, and then we can all kind of do a little bit more research that you guys have asked for.
Is there
We'll
any way
just-
that we could get a copy of the grant to look at it? Okay.
Absolutely.
mhm.
Yeah,
And
that'd be good.
we'll definitely give the state library a call and see who else has gotten one of these grants, or if we're the only ones. And then once we look at the grant and see, you guys kind of come up with some kind of ideas or whatever, we can see what we can do as far as modification on that grant with the state library. So those are kind of our options. So we can put it back on the agenda on the 7th, or we can wait till the 1st of November. Kind of, I don't know the,
That's next Tuesday.
yes,
And then we would have a meeting on the 21st also.
yes.
Yeah, I would imagine it's not gonna take forever once, if it's approved for the installation and all that. You're saying June, July. I don't wanna drag it out so long that they go, yeah, we can't do it in that timeframe, so.
Yeah, I don't have a, as far as,
Yeah, and just the point being, we should make a decision this month, or October, I would, yeah.
Well, can you contact the company and ask them how far out or estimated time that they would take to complete after signed approval?
Yeah. All right, anything else? Anybody want to add? Steve, Mike, you want to add anything to this conversation?
a little help, but I can add some numbers we pulled from our calls of service over there if you guys want to have something here. So I went back 10 years through our reports, any reportable incident that law enforcement has responded to from 2016 till now. The most recent violent act that we've had over there was 2018, and that was with 2 former employees and and 2 patrons. While nothing physical happened, the threat of physical violence was there. Most of the stuff that occurs is theft and drugs and harassment, criminal damage that's happening inside the library. But like I said last week, when you had asked for these numbers, we don't have the numbers to show the justification for this, but again, we're trying to prevent anything in the future for this. So, but this is all I have. The most recent is 2018, any kind of physical violence.
Well, and your office was very close to the library, so that might have also been a deterrent.
It could have been.
I don't know. Could have been.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
The one time that we did press the panic button, which was done on accident, it took them less than a minute to get into our library with guns ready to go.
When they were here.
Yeah.
Well, that may have-
Is that panic button, you find that you set it off accidentally
No,
a lot?
No, there was a volunteer that was playing with it.
Because apparently we have one at the college, and the officer showed up, and I was like, There you go, you hit the panic button. I go, what panic button? I didn't know we had a panic button, but it's on our alarm panel apparently, and somebody
Oh,
punched the dial, so. Okay. Well, I feel like we vaguely have a direction we're going in.
So
You want to do some more looking around and,
Yeah, I'll email everybody a copy of the grant. That way, everybody will have it. Steve or I will get a hold of the company to see typically what time frame it takes. They won't be able to give us a hard probably, but should be able to give us a roundabout, how long it takes to get here, and then installation time. And then I will give the state library a call and see how
let me
many
just
other
see
grants.
if they've done these for other libraries, or if they
Yes.
know of. I just typed in ballistic shields at Arizona libraries, and all I got was ballistic shield companies. I didn't get an actual, yes, we have
I know,
one, but it was on my phone. I mean, you could probably dig deeper on the computer.
and then I'll get you
Curious
guys that information along with your grant.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being trendsetters either, right?
That's,
All right.
okay.
And that's fine if we are, it's just also knowing that we are that first in the line of doing that. But if there is other ones, it would also be nice to have that firsthand visual or that experience with that.
Especially if they had it for a while, and we could say, how's it going? How's it working?
So we can have that real life comparable.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So nothing else? Anybody? This meeting's adjourned.